This is Kermit. Kermit, as you can see, is a bright green GT3 RS. Now, Kermit is actually the spine of the Porsche lineup. But Kermit isn't the only one. The Porsche GT3 is celebrating 20 years of production this year, 20 years spent slaying and punishing tires on the track. That's right, this is the car that holds the entire 911 lineup together. Let's go for a drive. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a 2019 Porsche 911 GT3 RS, codenamed 991.2 in the Porsche nomenclature. Here it is, lime green. This one is nicknamed Kermit, and we're gonna have a bunch of fun, the most amount of fun one can pretty much possibly have in a car at all. A brand new car here in 2019. I mean, this is, in my opinion, this is like the Halo car, one of the Halo track cars at the very least, that money can buy. And you're going to be shelling out a lot of money, yes. Pretty much the most insane car I've driven all year. And I'm just gonna show you guys what it's like for a normie to get behind the wheel of one of these cars and spend a little bit of time. So, big differences with the 991.2. First off, the front end is completely different. It looks so much better than the 991.1. It didn't look bad at all. It was a gorgeous car. But a few key things, they got rid of the lights on the corners, on the bumper. They made the front bumper quite a bit more aggressive. It's got those kind of like angled, flowy kind of fins that go in the front bumper. And then you've got the intakes on the hood, which are straight from the GT2 RS, which is essentially this car, but with two massive turbochargers on it. So, the point is, Marcus, why would you get the GT3 RS when you can get a GT2 RS that's way more powerful, much faster in a straight line? And it's just like, it is the top of the Porsche lineup right now. And the answer is natural. This is a natural car. It's naturally aspirated, no turbos, instant throttle response. And in my opinion, and in a lot of Porsche 911 owners' opinions, this is as pure as a 911 can get in 2019. Obviously, it is missing a manual transmission. It's PDK dual clutch. That's gonna be it. You won't hear me talk about it anymore because PDK is so good. This is the best automatic transmission I've ever experienced in my entire life. Bar none, hands down, without a question. It's seamless. There is zero kind of chassis movement and does not get upset under shifting whatsoever. It is, yeah, it does not leave anything to be desired. You know, I want to have, I want to have both my hands on the steering wheel for this at all times, especially on track. And so the PDK allows you to do that, you know, without fuss. And you can leave it in auto mode as well, and it will shift better than you even could with the paddles, leaving you to actually learn the track you're on, to learn the limits of the tires and the car, and it will, you know, keep the revs up, shift at 9 grand, no issues. But because I want to have a little bit of control, I am going to shift with the paddles just because, you know, here on the street it is a little bit more fun. I can't believe I'm driving this car.
So here it is if you're not familiar. The 911 is a car with many masks, from the subtleness of the Carrera to the ever so complex and frightening GT2 and GT3 RS. Now, upon first glance, you would think the GT2 RS is the spine of the 911s. After all, it is much more powerful and has a higher top speed than the GT3 RS. You're wrong though. The GT2 RS is the celebrity, the show. I mean, one hell of a show, I'll admit. It's the ultimate showcase of Porsche's engineering and technology without question. I get that. The GT3 RS, on the other hand, doesn't feed into that turbocharged witchcraft. I love turbos, you guys, but anyone who's ever driven one will tell you this 4.0 liter engine specifically makes it the most honest vehicle Porsche builds. I like to think this is the car that might finally respond when I'm yelling at it aimlessly mid-corner. You know, in the heat of the moment. I swear I can't be the only one. Point is, it's made for battle, and still carrying the soul of Porsche Motorsport onto the street to this day. Without the GT3, the modern 911 is nothing.
Wow, this car is fast. Very fast. So, okay, yeah, I remember now. Woo! Oh, sorry, you guys. Let me think here. Let me think. Oh my God. This is the best sounding car I have ever driven. Straight up. No regrets in saying that. It is the best sounding car I've ever driven. So big changes with the 991.2 over the 0.1 GT3 RS. Main things, you got a little bit more power, not too much, but enough to make it like the next level. The big thing is, Porsche has now tuned this 4-liter engine to rev to 9,000 RPM. The previous GT3 RS only revved to 8,800 RPM. That might not seem like a big difference, but for bragging rights and for the Porsche name, for the 911 lineup, that is huge. This is the largest and highest revving engine ever fitted in a 911 GT3 RS. Naturally aspirated. So, with the exhaust, with the Akrapovic exhaust in the back, we are in loud mode right now. I know George just got kicked off a couple of tracks because it is too loud. We're not complaining here. Savage downshift. Savage downshift. Oh my. It's too fast to think. It's too fast to think, honestly. I mean, it's got 550 horsepower thereabouts with the exhaust. Factory is 520. So what you have is a rear-wheel drive, not all-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive raw Porsche 911. That's why I say it's the spine of the 911 lineup. It really does hold all of the other 911s accountable for what they're doing. You know, you can't just have a 911 lineup with like a Carrera and a 4S and like a Turbo or a Turbo S, which are GT cars at the heart of it. And the GT2 RS kind of blurs the line between track car and like a really fast GT car, but it just does not keep that naturally aspirated engine. And you're seeing more and more so manufacturers go turbo, and you have to. And with the GT2 RS, in order to stay competitive on the Nürburgring, you need turbos. But they still have faith in the GT3 RS, and they will still continue to make it because the market absolutely demands it. The Porsche nut absolutely demands the GT3 RS because it is the epitome of what it means. See, it just cut me off there, just past the rev limiter, or just at the rev limiter. What it means to be a 911. I mean, RS stands for Rennsport, which is a German word for motorsport, right? So the GT3 part of it comes from the GT3 class in Le Mans racing, right? So when we were filming in Atlanta at Petit Le Mans at Road Atlanta back in November, we saw GT3 cars going around the track. I mean, I witnessed a legit Porsche GT3 race car on the track. So that is basically at the heart of it. Porsche is motorsport, and they trickle everything down into the GT3 RS, and they've been doing that now for 20 years, a full 2 decades, right? But when you really look into it, that's when the 911 became truly hardcore and kind of a cut above a kind of flowing, nice driving, air-cooled 911 of the past. I mean, the first 911 I ever drove, praise the heavens, was a 964 turbo. And that was a very comfortable car, you know. It had a little bit of turbo lag, well, a lot of turbo lag. And it kind of like, you could feel the suspension, the tires floating around in the corners. It was very, you know, the weight of the car transferred through the suspension, had a little bit of body roll. And then in 1999, with the 996 GT3, everything changed. Everything changed. We're gonna give it a full chat run from stop here, okay? Just gonna leave it in auto. Yes! Yes! Oh my God. I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry, you guys. In 1999, Porsche came out with that 996 GT3. It was followed some years later, I believe in 2002, 2003, and 2004 actually, with the 996 GT3 RS. Now, some of you may think, Marcus, there was a 996 GT3 RS? Yes, there was. It was never sold in North America, though. Very limited production. They were extremely lightweight. As with this car, like very limited sound deadening. They take all the sound deadening out of the back, essentially. There's no back seats in this model. It is as light as humanly possible. Although, this GT3 RS, when compared to the older, smaller cars, with less grip, albeit less power, this is 150 pounds heavier than both the 997 GT3 RS and the 996 GT3 RS. So that leaves you to wonder, is the sacrifice worth it? 150 pounds may not sound like a lot. And you know, with a car, in a car with 550 horsepower, it really isn't all that much. And with the extra rubber and stuff, you kind of have to, yeah, gotta have safety features, you gotta have all this stuff, right? But it's still, in the case of the 911 family of cars, it is still an extremely light vehicle on something that just destroys track times, destroys lap times, and all of the above. So the 997 GT3 and GT3 RS is really where the family of GT3 cars really started to come into their own as a car that you can both drive confidently on the street, take it to the track, drive it to the track, and then drive it home, right? And with the last 997 GT3 RS that they made, the most coveted of them all, one of which, a car that I don't believe I've ever seen in person to this day, is a 4.0 GT3 RS with a 6-speed manual. It was the largest naturally aspirated engine Porsche had ever put in a car, the most powerful, and it really is a testament today when you look at this GT3 RS that still has a 4-liter, you know, 10 years later. And they've improved it quite a bit to that point, you know, added power, added torque, make it smoother, attached the PDK, whatnot. But that 4.0 GT3 RS manual has shot up in value. They're like $500,000 now, more than this car, I believe. And that is why I say the GT3 RS as a whole, the GT3 family of cars, has held the 911 legacy together all these years, or at least for the last 20 years, in terms of just an ultimate driving experience, right? All other 911s look up to the GT3 RS, in my opinion, including the GT2 RS. Including the GT2 RS. Now, maybe I'm just bitter, I haven't driven a GT2 RS, but steering's incredibly tight, very direct, not too heavy either. You know, it's light enough, but definitely cold tires. Getting a little bit loose there. So we filmed with George, the owner of this car, a few years back, November of 2016. He had the 991.1 purple GT3 RS that I drove a few years ago for that review. You guys may remember. And naturally, as any Porsche owner should, he has upgraded to the 991.2 GT3 RS. But this is not just any old 991.2 GT3 RS. So George has actually extensively modified this car. This has coilovers. It has all aftermarket suspension components. The alignment has been tuned to the exact specifications of the GT3 and GT2 RS that set the Nürburgring lap times over in Germany. And as well, just to put a cherry on top, George is actually going to the Nürburgring this Friday. Not with this car, unfortunately, but that just tells you a little bit about a GT3 RS owner. He's not here to flaunt this car. This is not a car to flaunt. He is here to drive this car, and he does so. And as well, he's put smaller wheels on it. Track wheels, okay? He's got Trofeo R tires, which on a cold morning like today, you gotta be extremely careful for a track setup. That's what you want. You don't want to have these massive 20, 21-inch wheels. They look great, and for the street, it's totally fine, and you can track a car like that. Won't really affect performance too much, but with the alignment and with the suspension adjustments that George has done, I mean, you may as well go all the way. You may as well just go. I mean, he's built the ultimate GT3 RS. So, the steering wheel. See, Porsche gets it, and this is why this is the most beautiful steering wheel I've ever seen in my life, just in the fact that there are no buttons, zero buttons, no volume buttons, right? This car, you can spec it without a radio, without AC. Now, George is a smart man, and he drives his car to the track, so he has AC, obviously, and he has a few, creature comforts that are gonna make this car livable, but at the same time, it's a lightweight, stripped out version of the GT3, which is already more than most people need. God, that is savage. But once you hit 7,000 RPM, 7 to 9,000 RPM is like all hell just breaks loose, Seats are pretty comfortable. I don't see myself driving in these seats for much longer than like a day. I think a day's drive would pretty much be the most that I could take. But they're still very comfortable. They are fixed back seats, so you cannot adjust the recline on them at all. You can either move it up or down, and then you have your telescopic steering wheel, obviously. But that is about it. It is bare bones basic. It doesn't even come with door handles, you guys. Look, it doesn't even come with door handles. It's got fabric door handles. It doesn't come with a Porsche badge on the front. It's got a sticker. A lot of people that aren't into cars are so confused by that. And I'm like, no, it's to save weight. And they're like, what, a couple ounces? And I'm like, yeah, definitely Porsche wants to save a couple ounces on their flagship track model. Yes. And that is what you have to do. The market is so incredibly competitive now. McLaren comes out with a car every 2 weeks. Ferrari now comes out with a car every few months, right? You just have to do everything in your power to make the car a statement. And as far as statements go, the GT3 RS is the biggest of them all. Absolutely ridiculous. An anomaly on the radar of modern track cars, and a car that will go down in history as one of the all-time greats in the naturally aspirated era. An era that is slowly coming to a close, but the 911 GT3 RS is on the final frontier of that era. So we got to enjoy it every chance we can get. Hey, thank you guys so much for watching. This is one of those days where I seriously look at the channel and how far we've come, and the content we've been able to produce for you guys, and the opportunities we've had up here in Canada, Vancouver, down in LA and Atlanta, in various places around North America thus far. Hopefully Europe soon, but we'll get there eventually. This is one of those, pinch yourself moments. A GT3 RS is a halo car, one of my favorite cars of all time, and this is a dream come true. So thank you, George, for tossing me the key. That's all I can say. Thank you. Thank you so much. Have fun at the Nürburgring. I'm very jealous. Subscribe if you guys have not already. It'll be up on Instagram. You can see kind of some behind the scenes stuff and what we're shooting on a day-to-day basis. Give us a like on this video for Kermit. 1,000 likes. All right, thanks guys. See you next time.